Cannot complain. Today is a good day.
It is. It is. Is it beautiful there as it is
It
here?
is. Today's a beautiful day. I think it was the high 70s here. I mean, I've been inside most of the day, but I snuck out back to eat lunch at least. But
Likewise.
it's like high 70s, beautiful day.
Yeah, same here. Beautiful, sunny, warm. I think we're in the 70s as well. So it's been beautiful. Yesterday and today was wonderful. Yes.
Same here.
Yep,
Let's
yep,
see where
yep.
everybody's coming to us from. Oh, Felicia said, glad to see Dr. Cheri again. I know,
Yes.
isn't it always a pleasure?
It's always good to be here. I'm here, I listen, but to be on the panel.
Let's see, we are in San Leandro, California. The DMV is always representing. Austell, Georgia, Dallas, Chicago, Indianapolis, Indiana, Kansas City, Nashville, Jacksonville, Florida, Detroit, Michigan, New York City, yes, Annapolis, Maryland, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Vegas, Tacoma, Washington, Memphis. Y'all ain't playing tonight. Y'all showing out. Bay Area, Houston. Okay, Savannah. Okay, very good. Nice.
I want to say welcome. I saw somebody's the first time grandparents, so congratulations to you.
Yes,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Okay,
Yes,
the baby is gonna be a 10K member.
a
Right, right,
10K
right,
baby. This might be
right.
the first one too. Coming on through.
Love it, love
So,
it, love it.
well, we want to welcome everyone here in Zoom. We've got people on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are not going to delay at all. Actually, let me hit the record button. Welcome to the 10K Project. We are the nation's largest community of small dollar investors who actively fund Black-owned businesses. And when we fund our own businesses, we can profit finally from our own innovation. We can create jobs in the community and we can work together to build Black wealth. I know I am not on the screen, but I'm Cheri. And I have camera issues tonight, but that's okay. God is good because at least y'all can hear me. I'm going to start off with our little presentation here just to bring everyone up to speed about what the 10K Project is. And then we are going to pass the mantle off to, of course, the woman of the hour here talking about our quarterly economic update. Number one, if you are a member of the 10K Project and you are not receiving the text messages to notify you of when the Bet on Black pitches will occur, you can text 10K to 202-410-4202, and I'll make sure to put that in the chat for everyone to see. Again, we are a community of everyday people who actively invest in Black-owned businesses, and thank you to Tawana. She got us one of our trademarks, which is home of the Everyday VC. You are an Everyday VC, and so am I because you're part of the 10K Project. So, in any economy, businesses are needed in order to provide jobs, to create economic stability, to fund our nonprofits. Yet, businesses need money in order to start and grow. But our businesses are not getting the funding that they need in order to grow. And Morgan Stanley said that number one, we get 1/3 of the money that other ethnically founded businesses get. And number two, is that our businesses, when they're properly funded, we make just as much money as any other ethnically founded businesses that are out there. Wall Street isn't paying attention. You got a whole lot of people talking about, oh, we're going to put money into the Black community. But we also have an opportunity as a people to fund ourselves and profit from our own innovation. So thanks to the Jobs Act of 2012, Black entrepreneurs have another option to get the money that they need from regular people like us. We are the crowd, and this is something called equity crowdfunding. How it works at the 10K Project is that entrepreneurs work with an equity crowdfunding portal to raise up to $5 million. Every week, we feature a Black-owned business who comes, they do a presentation for us. We call it the Bet on Black pitch. That happens every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then you as the investors can listen to that presentation. You get to ask the founders questions. You get to review their business plan, research the company, and then if you as an individual like that business, then you're able to invest in that business directly, and you can get shares or equity or partial ownership in that business if you choose to invest. And then if the company makes it big, the crowd, meaning the investors that put money into it, gets to share in the profits. And if not, the investors only lose the money that they put into that company. So again, we're able to fund our own companies and profit from our own innovation, create jobs, and build Black wealth. That is the heart of the 10K project. The ecosystem we're ultimately building is this: 3 parts. Number 1, entrepreneurs who want to raise capital for their businesses. We believe we can start businesses, grow businesses, and buy businesses. Number 2, investors, everyday people who have $100, $200 or more, that if they saw a pitch that they like, they would be willing to help fund that company. And then number 3 are product and service providers. So let's say these entrepreneurs raise $300,000, $500,000. They're going to use that money in order to grow their businesses. And they're going to need people like CPAs, attorneys, digital marketers, all sorts of people. It may even be your shea butter or your carpenter or HVAC person, etc. We need to do a better job of keeping the Black dollar in the community. Therefore, we have launched an expert directory, and anybody who has a product or service that they provide is able to put their information in the expert directory. And as entrepreneurs or investors need services, we're able to go into the expert directory, find the people that we need, and do business and circulate the Black dollar longer. So we want to invite anybody who's not a member to become a member of the 10K Project. You can hear the Bet on Black pitches, which happen again every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can participate in our expert business directory. You can also participate in members-only wealth building webinars. Tomorrow night, we're having a mastermind about multiple streams of income and passive streams of income, which should be fun. So that's where the community or peer-to-peer conversations come through. And we also have exclusive content in our knowledge center that you can get access to. So it's a one-time payment of $100, one-time, lifetime, $100, the10kproject.com. Now, Tawana, did you want to say anything about tomorrow night and the Bet on Black pitch? You want to give anybody a hint? What's coming on tomorrow night?
So let's see what I can say about tomorrow as the hint. First of all, you got to come, right? That's the first thing. Make sure you're all here. This industry is the maybe I'm gonna say accessory industry. I don't know. There's a product. This founder is a product.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in the accessory arena, but an amazing product. I am actually, full disclosure, I am a consumer of this product. So when I saw they were raising, it was a no-brainer because I'm already a customer. And so when I talked to them and realized, okay, they got the business model intact, the future goals look good, like all the things I look for in a good founder to present to you guys, he checked all the boxes. Plus I'm familiar with the product, right? So again, it was one of those things where it was like, well, duh, let's bring them on. So super excited to present this founder to you guys tomorrow. So 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, be there or be square.
That's right. And if you can't be there because you're working, don't worry, you get the replays. Cheri stays up late on Tuesday night to make sure that you get the replays in your inbox. Watch it while you're working out on Wednesday morning or fixing breakfast, etc. So, well then, we have the lady of the hour, the lady that comes on every quarter, 10K economist herself, Dr. Cheri Phillips. She and I talked last week, and she said, I've been doing some research about some of these studies that have come out about Black wealth and Black financial literacy. And she gave me a preview, and I'm like, stop. I want to hear it on April 5th in the fireside chat, but it was some good, juicy stuff, y'all. So with that, Dr. Cheri, everybody put a 2 in the chat if you are ready to hear the woman of the hour, our economist. Give her some love. Put a 2 in the chat. Look at all that love, Dr. Cheri, that's coming out for you.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. I love my people and I love being Black. Before I get started, I want to, there was something that you said earlier in the presentation for a 10K project where you mentioned that there's this push to invest in the Black community. And so what I want those who are not already members to fully understand and appreciate that there's a difference between investing in the Black community and investing in Black businesses, because you can invest in a Black community and it's not a Black business. And you can, but if you invest in Black businesses, ultimately you're investing in the Black community. And so we need to make sure that we don't always assume that just because you say, you know, a government entity or a corporation says we want to invest in the Black community, we need to make sure that they are specific about Black businesses in the Black community. And this is my own shameless plug. The 10K project, you don't have to worry about that distinction, because your money, your dollars, your participation is investing in Black businesses. So I wanted to get that out of the way before we went into our for our topic, our discussion, our fireside chat. Okay, so I would say when I'm in class, I would say hit the what is that, the raise your hand, or the button that would say, so I can see participation. How many of you all got stimulus checks? If you got a stimulus check, type 1. If you got your tax refund, type 2. And I'm just curious to see what you got. If you got both, put 1 and 2. Let me see. Oh, let's see. It seems like we got stimulus. We haven't received our tax refunds much, but I'm saying, okay, there we go. And then we've got a few that haven't received any. All righty. Okay, so this is good. So first, what is first quarter in a nutshell? Stimulus and tax refunds. But then we talked about that last quarter, and I told you all last quarter that the combination of the two, we're going to see this uptick in the economic activity, because as you get your stimulus, as you get your tax refund, what are you going to do with it? You're going to spend it. That is what the government wants you to do, because we spend our way out of a recession. And prior to COVID, we were entering into a recession. COVID just hurried up and sped up our arrival to the recession. And so now it was very, very important. We had 2 stimulus, and then we had this one first quarter. And so the combination of the stimulus and the tax return coming together, the government anticipates that households will do what households do, and that is spend, spend, spend. Now, how you spend, whether you take it and invest it, however you spend it, the government needs that money in circulation because of something called the money multiplier. So as you spend money, that money, it then is spent. As it's spent, it is spent and divvied out, and so it kind of amplifies or multiplies, so that your $1 now is worth more because it's touched more people. And so the federal government wants you to spend that money. How you spend it is irrelevant to them, but they really want you to spend the money. What you decide to do with that money is based on your own household budgets. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit when I tell you about these reports that have recently come out. So you've got the stimulus and you've got the refunds and the tax returns. We also have the schools, and the economy is opening. We've seen more and more people are getting vaccinated. We've got what is it? We've got Pfizer, we've got Moderna, Johnson & Johnson has just came out on the market, and AstraZeneca is not too far behind. And so as more vaccines are being produced and we see more and more people being vaccinated, then the government entities that have been slow and hesitant about opening up, businesses and shops and schools are now doing so, because they're going on this concept that if you get enough people vaccinated, then it minimizes the risk of a widespread. While we're doing this, while we're talking about this herd immunity, we're also talking about this fourth wave, and they're basing it on what they're seeing, the trends that they're seeing in Europe. So you've got more people getting vaccinated, and so we feel comfortable enough opening the economy, and we know that it's working, and that we are we're experiencing a rebound, if you will. So you've got the stimulus and you got the tax returns, you've got the vaccination, and now you've got more businesses opening up. And just last week, economic reports came out, and it said that travel and tourism, hospitality have seen an increase in employment. So those that were in those industries are going back to work. More of those businesses are beginning to hire, and that's part of that multiplier. So as we get our money and we go out to eat, then the businesses need to now buy more food. They got to buy more labor, and so that's going to cause more money. And then those individuals receive the money, and then they spend that money. That's that multiplier effect. That's what that multiplier effect looks like. Now we've got travel, tourism, hospitality on the uptick. On the other side of that, we've got this problem with healthcare burnout, because the healthcare industry and those participants in the healthcare industry have frontline. We were calling them, frontline workers, and we were, thank God for our frontline workers. They were burning the candles on both ends, and so many of them are beginning to rethink whether or not they want to stay in this industry. And so we're going to see a dip in an exodus of sorts, where some healthcare professionals are going to leave, which is going to cause this gap. So we were already short on nurses before COVID, and then now that we are getting on this side of COVID, the shortage will be increased, because the few that were there, some of them are still leaving, and we're not replacing them at the same level, at the same rate that they're leaving, given that we already had a shortage. So we're going to see higher unemployment with healthcare workers, and that's RNs, CVNs, LPNs, all at the different levels of nursing. We're talking about doctors. Here in Nashville, we have everybody's been kind of really pushing Tennessee State and Meharry Medical. They have an agreement, and so they are doing openly, actively engaging in recruiting for students, so that they can kind of build this pipeline for medical practitioners who are Black and other ethnicities. And so you're going to see this kind of where we see travel, tourism, and hospitality increasing. We're seeing a slight dip with healthcare, but we'll need to make sure that kind of that gets corrected. So in a nutshell, we are at the beginning of what could be an economic recovery. But there are several things, in addition to the stimulus and the tax refund and the economy opening up, that will determine whether or not this recovery, one, is sustainable, and whether it's going to be what we call a K-shape, which is what we talked about 2 quarters ago, or whether it's going to be a kind of a W shape, which is we went into this decline and now we're on the uptick. And so if it's K-shape, we're talking about the top part of the K, where the wealthy, there was a dip and then they increased their wealth. And then the lower part of the K shape, which is where we don't want to be, are those individuals that were experiencing a little bit of an economic boom bust. And then when the recession came, it's going to make them even in a worse predicament than they were before the recession. And so we're looking at right now, we won't know whether this is a K-shape or a W-shaped recovery until we get past it, and then we kind of look back, because we always look back to see where we're at. So we've got this economic recovery that's beginning to take place. And so now as a household, you all have to decide, where do I want to be as the economy recovers? And remember, I always say that we're in business cycles. So it was up for a little bit, it's down, we're on the uptick. So where do you want to be on that uptick as we come out of the recession and we're going towards economic recovery, towards an economic boom? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be better off in that recovery than you were before the recession? Also, we need to think through some things that have been happening. So that's the first part, that's direct. Some indirect, we have the Federal Reserve, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, which is the central bank, and we talked about them last quarter. They are doubling down on this cryptocurrency. And so basically what the chairman has said is, one, it's unstable. And those of you who are investing, they're not encouraging investing, they're not encouraging participation, because one, it's unstable, and two, in the future, there's no guarantee in the future it'll be worth more than it is now. Now, my argument to that is the US dollar is also speculative. It's not tied to anything. The only reason why the US dollar has value is because the federal government promises that it will make good if you use it. And we all know that the federal government has, is not always good about credit. It's credit or it's debt, but that is another story for another time. And so the Federal Reserve is doubling down and saying cryptocurrency is not the way to go. I would say pay attention to what's going on. And those things would include the fact that you have businesses beginning, slowly but surely, beginning to accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment. We have government institutions, nonprofit institutions. We have complete institutions that are investing portions of like retirement funds and endowment funds. Portions are from those funds are being used to buy cryptocurrency, to buy and hold cryptocurrency. And so when you've got businesses that are beginning to accept cryptocurrency, and you've got cities that are being built or being rehabbed so that they only accept cryptocurrency, and then you have major institutions, financial institutions, government institutions, nonprofit institutions whose portions of their funds are being backed by cryptocurrency, it makes you wonder, when will it become acceptable? And to answer that question, I'm going to tell you that when the Federal Reserve Bank figures out a way, and the federal government figures out a way that they can utilize or see an advantage to utilizing cryptocurrency, then and only then will you see the Federal Reserve reverse itself in its decision. Right now, they say don't do it, but I think that as soon as they figure out how they can get it done, then you'll start seeing it different. You'll hear a different tune from the Federal Reserve. President Biden has started talking up and is starting to talk up his infrastructure proposal, and there's bills that are being circulated in Congress. It is President Biden's New Deal is similar to the New Deal, and it's another way to kind of build up, bolster up, and boost the economy, and try to make it sustain using these long-term projects for highways, other roadways, railways, and other forms of infrastructure. And so again, that was what I explained to you. Households have to spend, government has to spend, businesses have to spend in order for us to get out and stay out of a recession. So these are the things we've talked about that are happening in the past. Start looking out for the infrastructure, for that infrastructure bill, and pay attention to it in the news. Something else that you'll want to pay attention to in the news is this idea, there's another form of crypto. It's not necessarily cryptocurrency. It's a digital asset called NFT, or non-fungible tokens. It has been in existence since about 2015, but it's really kind of taken root just recently with different, the art world is using it, the sports industry is using it, professional sports is using it. And basically, it's a digital asset. They use blockchain technology, and basically what you do is you use cryptocurrency to buy ownership into whatever it is that's being sold. And so that's something else that's kind of coming down. I would expect to see a little bit more in this next quarter coming up, next 2 quarters coming up. And I think right now it's been extremely volatile, but if they can figure out a way to legitimize it a little bit, and it becomes a little less volatile and a little more stable, I think we can see a long-term or medium-term range use of it. And then also, as we open up the economy and businesses that have been flailing and failing are being replaced by upcoming new businesses, something to look out for is what we call a special purpose acquisition companies, SPAC. Basically, in the financial systems services arena, it's known as blank check companies. And basically what it is this: you have a shell company, and a shell company is nothing more than a company on paper, but doesn't, legitimately have like a brick and mortar. It's just on paper, there's this company. So you have this shell company that is listed, already listed. They've done the homework, the paperwork, and everything, like I said, on paper looks good. They are considered a public company. They're trading, this company is trading on the New York Stock Exchange, it's trading on NASDAQ, and it's a public company, a public shell company. And basically what happens is that public shell company goes and looks for private companies that that would like to go public, but don't want to go through the 4 to 6 months it would take to do an IPO. And 4 to 6 months is if everything works like it's supposed to. And so rather than go through that process, what's happening is that these shell companies, these SPACs, special purpose acquisition companies, will purchase this private company. And then in that purchase, now that private company is now public, and you can trade the stocks. And so it's a way of kind of short end run the IPO process. And so I've noticed that there's the activity from these types of companies have increased incrementally, but have increased just in the last couple of quarters. And so those are kind of things that you would need to kind of think through and be on the lookout for in terms of what your in terms of your portfolio and how you're investing. So again, in a nutshell, we've got the stimulus and tax refunds, we've got the economy opening up, we've got the federal government. Even though the Federal Reserve is doubling down against cryptocurrency, we're seeing everybody else kind of finally coming around and accepting it. We've got a form of cryptocurrency where we're looking at purchasing digital assets using cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. It's called NFT, or non-fungible tokens. We also have special purpose acquisition companies that are helping helping private companies, small and large, helping private companies go public by end running the IPO process. Now, what does this mean for the Black households? What does this mean? So TIAA, the company, the financial services company, they did a report last year, and basically the report was about financial literacy. And what they did was they looked at financial literacy for Black households, Hispanic households, and then they compared it against white households. And what they found are things that we have already known, that in key areas, Black households really just don't know the principles and of finance. And when we compare them to the other ethnic groups, rank lower, score lower on financial literacy tests. Now, what does that mean? Do we have a good understanding of borrowing? Do we have a good understanding of risk, comprehending risk? Do we have a good understanding of consumption? Do we have a good understanding of wealth? There's some areas around finances that we just don't know, and we're learning them. This is another service project for the 10K project. We're learning these things, and as each one learns one, we should share that information. But what this report was saying is that we don't have Black households are not financially literate, and that lack of knowledge impacts their wealth. Not only does it impact their wealth, but it impacts their ability to it impacts our ability to handle economic shocks. And economic shocks are those unanticipated events. So you drive into work, or you were driving to work, and all of a sudden the car breaks down. Do you have enough money in your savings account to fix whatever is wrong with the car? Whether it's a new engine block, whether it's a transmission, do you have enough money in your savings account to cover that expense and not miss a bill? That's an example of the ability to recover or to work through an economic shock. If you were to get sick and you were hospitalized or out of work for a period of time, less than 30 days, can bills still get paid? And can your hospital bills get paid? Can you pay whatever the insurance doesn't cover, and your bills still get paid and nothing gets undone as a result of it? Your ability to do that is greatly, according to this report, is greatly hampered or promoted based on whether or not you are financially literate. And what they found was that Black men were more likely to be more financially literate than Black women, college educated more so than non-college educated, and older households with older Black, more mature, were more likely to be financially literate than the young. So what does that tell us? That tells us that in these areas, when we're talking about comprehending risk, economic risk, when we're talking about borrowing, when we're talking about consuming, when we're talking about investing, when we're talking about ensuring or protecting our assets, there is so much more we need to learn and so much more that we need to know. So that was the first thing. So we need to understand, we need to be more financially literate so that as these different events happen, so I've told you about NFTs, and I've told you about SPACs. If we're not financially literate where investments are concerned, then we can't take advantage of those opportunities when they come. And if we don't have a good sense of debt and how our income, that budget management, then when those opportunities come, even if we're financially literate enough to recognize them, if our finances aren't in order because of borrowing, the debt that we incur from borrowing, or how we overconsume based on our income, then we can't take another instance of where we can't take advantage, and that impacts our wealth, and wealth impacts quality of life. And so that was the TIA. When I read that, and I was like, it wasn't surprising, But what was enlightening was the areas in which we are falling behind. Black households, we know a whole lot about borrowing. We don't know as much about the investment piece, as much about the comprehending risk piece, as much, or even, believe it or not, we don't know that much. We don't know as much in terms of consumption and savings. And so I was surprised because I saw, when I saw the borrowing, I'm like, yes, because between payday loans, title loans, student loans, credit card debt, those, yeah, we're gonna be we're not gonna be savvy, but we're going to be literate about that. I was more surprised that we are not as literate when it comes to consumption, when it comes to savings and insuring. And well, I did insuring, consumption, savings, and investment, and comprehending risk. When it comes to insurance, we talked about this in the previous quarter. We've talked about this already. GoFundMe is not insurance. It's not. And we should not operate on the presumption that we're going to live forever, or that by preparing life insurance, health insurance, asset insurance, that by preparing and protecting, we should view insurance as we're protecting. It's a form of protection, not that if I purchase it, I'm incurring that. I'm bringing that about. So again, GoFundMe isn't insurance. You need protection. So think of insurance as protection. And then there was this other report. Now, this report was a little bit, the TIAA report was 2019. There was another report by Prosperity Now, and that was 2016, 2017. And in that report, it was again dealing with studying Black wealth. And basically what the conclusion that they came to was that from 1983 to 2013, that 30-year gap, Black wealth had decreased. So when they looked at Black households in 1983, and they followed and tracked them through till 2013, what they found was by 2013, the Black households had lost about 75% of their wealth. 75%. And so, and then they had said, if we take that trend and we extrapolate and forecast out to 2053, from 2013 to 2053, 40 years later, if nothing else happens, Black wealth will be reduced to 0%, so that Black households would not have any wealth at all. Now, remember, from 1983 to 2013, we've already lost 75%. So from 2013 to 2053, 2013 to 2053, 40 years, we're going to lose the remaining 25. If nothing else, if everything else stayed constant.
Did they explain why? What happened between 1983 and 2013?
Okay, so you've had several recessions, but they said that the biggest contributor was stagnant income.
Now, is that across all ethnicities, or is it hitting our ethnicity more?
That 75% was specifically towards the 70, that 75% was specifically Black households. Hispanic households received, Hispanic households, let me tell you what their number was. Hispanic households lost 50% of their income, and white households saw an increase of 14%.
Okay, the reason I'm asking that is I listen to various news people out there, and the white people always complain about their wages are flat, their wages are flat, their wages are flat. So where's the disconnect? Because we have our people, we have more people starting businesses, more people going to college, more people getting degrees, yet we're losing. What's the problem?
Okay, so here's the problem. Yes, more Blacks, because we believe that education is the great equalizer. And so we go and we get more college, we go to college, we get the degree. And yes, we do see an increase in our income as a result of the degree. But what we don't factor in are all the other things, all the other factors that have a say. For instance, even with our college degree, if we go in and apply for a job and we're competing against other ethnicities, one, if we get the job, there's a good possibility that the salary that we agree to is less than the salary our white counterparts would get. And we see this when we talk about the white male. For every $1 the white male earns, the Black female gets about 83 cents. The Black male gets about 79 cents, and then the Hispanic men and women are somewhere around 65 to 67 cents. Same dollar, the dollar that the white man would get, we're getting less of that. That's what that means. So you got that. If you get the college education, Black households are less likely to have parents who can afford to pay outright so that their children won't incur debt. And so Black college educated graduates, Black college graduates are more likely to have more debt. And so if they leave college with debt and they're not making as much money, and during that whole time, the income is flat, and you got inflation, rising prices, which is what we talked about previously. All of those are contributing factors to the lack of wealth, because remember, wealth is assets minus liabilities. And so if I'm riddled with debt, if my income is stagnant, I am less likely to be able to afford to buy long-term assets like a house, like art, like stocks, contributing stock and contribute to make a stock portfolio. So I'm less likely to have those assets. And my liabilities are my student loan debt, my car note debt, my, if I am fortunate enough to have a house, my mortgage. And so if I've got a lot of debt, my income is not as much as it could be, and it's been stagnant, then my wealth is minimal. And then the prices in 2013 are higher than they were in 1983. So the purchasing power, how much your dollar can actually spend, is also reduced. So all of those factors, and we're not even going to begin to talk about all of the wealth stripping policies that the government has put into place and has enacted and enforced in that same time period. So all of those are contributing factors.
Yeah, so we have a couple of questions in here for you as well about, first of all, wonderful. You always drop so much knowledge and so much practical knowledge for us as well. Chris is asking, do you think the government is trying to discourage the working class to not invest in cryptocurrency to keep us as the working class?
Yes, because capitalism requires a poor working class. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Kevin is asking, I wonder if you have any suggestions on books, websites, etc., to give to young adults on improving their financial literacy, preferably a suggestion for updated information which understands recent economic factors.
There's so many different books out there. What I will do is I will send my recommended list to Cheri, and then she can post it on the 10K project. She can make that available.
Perfect. I'll put it in email once you send it, Dr. Cheri. So I have another question for you. We do have other questions here as well. The financial literacy scores. I always read about, again, the problems, and I'm like, okay, well, where's the solution? And I'm not really seeing it. So I'm curious, what's our score right now versus, the highest score that's out there? I don't know if it's the Asian community, the white community, et cetera. What's the gap between us on average and them on average?
Okay. So I will, before I answer that question, let me tell you that the reason why we keep hearing about wealth and the inequalities, and we hear about it and we hear the problem, but no solution. The reason why we don't hear a solution is because money is being made,
of course,
on our
back.
illiteracy. It is being made on us remaining
stuck and at the bottom. Yeah.
So as long as there's money to be made, it will continue, and we may address the symptoms, some of the symptoms, but we won't ever get to the solution.
Right. And, I don't expect TIAA or the Brookings Institute or any of these places, but my question is more so, okay, there are 20 million, let's say, Black adults in the United States, right? If right now, if we have, I'm just throwing out numbers, if we have 1 million Black people that can pass the financial literacy test, what does it take to get us to 2 million? Then once we get to 2 million, what does it take for us to get to 4 million? And then once we get to 4 million, can we get to 10 million? Because then we're at like 50% of people who can pass financial literacy. And then not only passing financial literacy, but then being able to act on financial literacy as well, which is part of what I'm hoping the 10K project can do. I'm just curious what first I wanted to know what the stats were of how big the gap is. And then we can take question number 2 is how do we fill in the gap?
Okay. So Prosperity Now divided households, U.S. households, into 3 areas. You had the working class, which means that they had poor they were asset poor. You have the middle class, and then you had the upper class, which were asset strong. Now, for wealth purposes, because we have to quantify this. So what they said, what they classified as wealth was if your wealth fell between 68,000, despite your income, if your wealth was between 68,000 and 204,000, then you were considered middle class. We're not talking income. We're talking about assets. We'll take the value of your assets minus the value of your liabilities, your debt. If the assets minus liabilities is between 68,000 and 204,000, you are considered middle class. And and if you have less than that, you're working poor, asset poor. And if you have more than that, you're asset strong, you're upper middle class.
So can I stop you right there? $200,000, $204,000 for many of us in corporate America, we have good jobs. We're probably on this call. I've been saying it for a while. That is a paid off house, no debt, and maybe a couple of rental properties or something like that that's giving you cash flow. And you're already like upper wealth or whatever the term was then, So that's when we start getting strategic. And then we start asking, how many households can we get there, so that instead of the path going to 0, at least for your family, for your collective, you're not there, because you can't help anybody if you're there as well. So go ahead, Dr. Cheri.
Okay, so when we talk about let's talk about the gap, and we're going to compare Black middle class, because I'm just going to focus on the middle class. So we're going to focus on them, and we're going to compare Blacks to whites. And the only reason why I'm comparing Black to white is because when we talk about wealth building, when we talk about wealth and wealth building policies, they were written, designed, and favor white households. And so they generate the greatest potential because they reap the greatest potential from those policies. So that's the only reason why I'm comparing Black to white households. So when we talk about that gap, in that gap, if a white households have $171,000, a typical white household would have $171,000 worth of assets. And that's 2019 figures. Blacks have 17,000. So we could say the gap is Black households have 1/10 of white households' wealth. So that would be the gap. And that's based on 2019 figures. And so so basically what we would need to do is, and to answer, coming up with a solution to get us from, so many households to the next, coming up with segmenting how many households we can get to a place, it's going to take it. There's no one silver bullet.
Right.
And there's no one, no one silver bullet, no one size fit all. It's going to be a combination of things. It is going to be a combination of us educating ourselves and sharing that education with our children, our grandchildren. It will include us coming together as a collective, not to say that we're going to always agree, but we're going to agree that it's going to take multiple approaches in order to get this done. And I'm not talking about multi-level marketing. I'm not talking about susu or friendship circles. I am talking about legitimate ways, like crowdsourcing, legitimate ways of investing knowledge. And I always say the 3 T's: time, talent, and treasure. So we're going to have to take multiple approaches to investing in using our time, our talent, and our treasure, so that we can move this needle in terms of the financial literacy and in terms of wealth. And it's going to take us not only just starting businesses, because Black women, Small Business Association has said Black women are the largest, have seen the largest growth in terms of entrepreneurship. It is not just about, starting the business and working it as a one-woman shop or a one-man shop. It's not even about starting a business and hiring your kids and working with, building the business that way. It includes all of that, and it includes hiring outside. So are we hiring within the community? Blacks have the highest unemployment rate. And yes, unemployment rate overall went down pre-COVID. But when you compare Black unemployment rate to the national average, not just Black unemployment rate against whites or other ethnicities, but Black unemployment rate against the national average, we're still higher. It might be lower than it used to be, but it is still higher. And so as we are making these pushes towards entrepreneurship, that entrepreneurship plan needs to include what type of investments am I making? How am I scaling my business in a way that I can hire more people? What processes can I automate? What processes can I outsource to other Black businesses? Who's Black and unemployed that I can hire and train and grow my business that way as well. Right. So those are some of those solutions.
And so, and then we have 2 more questions, and then we'll go, everybody. So, yes, the stat is that more Black women are starting businesses. However, there was recently a Black Enterprise article that came out that somebody posted in Facebook, and we ended up talking about it at 10K, that the average Black female business owner only makes $24,000 in their business. That's not even living wages, much less being able to hire anybody else. So I also brought on Trinette Chandler last week to come and talk with us. She joined the $1 Billion Roundtable. The $1 Billion Roundtable are various companies that have committed to spending $1 billion or more with minority-owned businesses, including Black-owned businesses. And Trinette is one of the people who is receiving contracts, and she came to talk with us about that. I love my 10K family. I know that people have stuff going on, but we're not attending those types of sessions. It's great
Right.
for us to come to Monday night fireside chat. But if
Yes.
we're not getting into the weeds of where is the money,
Yes.
last year I did a Instagram live and a Facebook live. It was kind of impromptu, but I said there were 3 companies that were going to put $17 billion into Black America over the next 10 years. It was JP Morgan Chase and 2 others. I can't remember what they are. And I was saying, where's your share, right? I think that we're not really getting together. Put a 3 in the chat if I'm crazy. Put a 4 in the chat if you agree. But we're not getting together and having strategic conversations about these companies are spending $1 billion each. Who's going to combine forces? Instead of us having onesie, twosie people, let's create a super company with 6 or 7 people, high-powered brains. You're all on the same mission, and you're all like, look, we're going to get in to these companies, and we're going to be able to get $1 million contracts each, $5 million contracts each. The call that Tawana and I had before we came on was the same type of call where these 2 gentlemen are doing their thing. We're doing our thing. We're starting to connect with other people who are doing their thing. And we're like, if we all just got together and put a coalition together and we went from the supply chain and with an equity crowdfunding from start to finish, you know how much we can do and dominate?
Exactly.
So this has always been a frustration of mine. Mm-hmm. And good. I'm seeing 4s in the chat. Thank you so much. Gerald is saying that's $80 million a month going to Black businesses. Where is it going? It's not going anywhere, Gerald, because one of the things that we've been told, and I know I'm going over, but I've got to talk about this, and we've got to start coming together and doing some strategy meetings. I was told a couple of things by people who had the checkbooks. Number one, when our businesses show up and ask for the money, we are not prepared. We're not prepared. If you're an entrepreneur today, and I'm one of them, and somebody dropped in and tripled your business overnight, do you have the infrastructure to handle it? Right. And for years and years, I personally have fought putting money back into my business, but I linked in with somebody else, and he brought me something that literally could 10x my business at a minimum. And I said, but the person said to me, but I'm scared that you can't handle the volume. I know you can do the work. I'm scared you can't handle the volume. So because of that, I have to invest 5 figures in my business. Thank goodness I have it, but it's like everything, right?
But that's the issue there.
Yes.
Because we treat our business like a side hustle.
Yes.
And as soon as the money comes in, we'll do a good job. We will go and collect the check, and we'll cash the check, and we won't, if we're smart, we'll save some of it. But for the most part, we use the check to go, on a trip, or we use the check to supplement our current lifestyle without thinking that I need to invest more. I need to take a portion of this and invest it back in the business. Mm-hmm. That's how we're going to take it to the next level. That's Absolutely. How we get these Black women business owners to go from 24,000 to 24 million.
Yes. So that's why in these strategy meetings, we need to start having 100, 200, 500 people. When we start saying, because in the fall, I want to do this, we're having a membership drive this summer. So I'll let everybody know that. And then in the fall, I want to start saying, hey, we're having the entertainment strategy session. If you're in the entertainment industry or you care about it, come, and we're going to talk about supply chain from start to finish. What companies can we start? What companies can we grow? What companies can we buy? We're doing it for logistics. We're doing it for manufacturing. We're doing it for agriculture, for real estate, etc. But we need people to show up because we don't know who you know or what you can bring as a CPA to that conversation, as an economist, anything like that. That is how we get stronger. That's how we get stronger. So,
and we don't know who knows you,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all righty then. So we have so many people here who have questions. I'm just going to grab a couple more.
Okay.
Number one is Tandanico is asking, are there financial and economic literacy classes we can take?
There are plenty all over the country. I will say that not all financial literacy classes are alike. And again, I can't tell you specifically. What I can do is say, if you see someone advertising a financial literacy class, check for these things. And then, here's a checklist so that you can compare to see if this is going to be worth your time. And I can give that checklist to Cheri as well.
Perfect. Kevin is asking, for the stats you mentioned, did they separate it by regions? Meaning, why not suggest Black people move to other parts of the country where the economy is better or more opportunities are available?
No, it was not a regional, it was national. It was done at the national level. I will say that regional, when you start to disaggregate for regions, then you've got to then account for cost of living. For instance, California, West Coast and New York, East Coast is more expensive to live than Midwest, the South, Mid-South and Southwest. And so that it was the figures that I gave you was on a national level, not on a regional level.
Right. Ryan is saying something powerful here, and yes, you can. Could we also crowdfund procurement investment, that additional funds you need up front for the contract, you'd be able to get from the community? Yes. This is when we start talking about strategy. And, all I'm saying is Tuan and I are working very much behind the scenes to prep certain things, but also to have the infrastructure so that when we're ready to go, the infrastructure is there. We are partnering with other organizations that are doing things better and that have certain pieces of the infrastructure that we don't have. And we are here to cultivate the education within the community and the Bet on Black pitches and the knowledge centers. So yes, absolutely. And then Joyce is saying, I can also get us into Africa. Great, love it. We would have free land to build our manufacturing companies. Love it. Okay. Phyllis is saying, I really want to sign up for the strategy meetings. Well, trust me, just stay on the email list. Don't unsubscribe from the email list because that's happening. So with that, I want to ask you if you have any final comments for today. You were, of course, was phenomenal as usual.
I don't have any final, well, I do have a couple of just one or two final comments. Before you can really start thinking about investing, you need to know where you're at. Investing is where you're headed. You can't accurately say I'm heading here unless you know where you are. Think of it as a GPS. I know what the destination is. In order to get the directions, I need to know where I'm at. And the first place for you to know where you're at is to know your financial numbers. So know how much you have in savings, know how much debt you're in, know what your investment portfolio looks like. And that's the 401ks, 403bs, your IRAs, know where you stand with your money. If you're not budgeting, please budget. And then once you know where you stand, then that helps you build a better path to where you're trying to go. And then there's resources here for the 10K.
Absolutely. So everybody, when Dr. Cheri emails me all of those resources, I'll make sure to get them out. Thank you so much, Dr. Cheri. We will see you the first Monday in June. You always come with the fire for our quarterly updates, and we really, really appreciate you. Everybody, either put a 5 in the chat or a virtual hand clap for Dr. Cheri. Let her know that you love her. We appreciate you so, so much. Thank you so much for being our economist.
The pleasure was all mine.
All righty then, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at the Bet on Black pitch. Take care.